wounds on your body from fighting the unbelievers, you meet Allah with a deficiency. You're not a complete Muslim unless you stand before Allah and you've got gashes on your body for fighting against the infidels. So if we ask ourselves, what's the difference between violence in the Bible and violence in the Quran? Violence in the Quran is commanded to Muslims of all time. Violence in the Bible served a specific role at a specific point in history, but it's not commanded to people of all time. It's not commanded to me. So if I'm sitting here and there's a Muslim sitting here beside me, that Muslim is commanded to fight me. I am commanded to love him and to do nothing but good to that Muslim. Now, your other issue, I'm amazed that you admitted that the Quran is wrong on science. I agree with you. You said that Muhammad was, you know, he's speaking in the 7th century. We wouldn't expect Muhammad to be accurate on everything he says. And actually, I agree with you completely. And I'll be honest here. It would never occur to me to say the Quran is wrong on science, therefore Islam is false. I wouldn't say that. What I am saying is, since Muslims are putting this forward as their evidence for Islam, this is our main evidence that Islam is true, then I'm going to look and see if the Quran is scientifically accurate. If it's not, then your argument fails. So all I'm saying by bringing up these scientific issues is the main evidence being given by Muslims in the world today that Islam is true is wrong. So go and get another argument. So I'm not saying Islam is false because Muhammad was wrong on practically everything he said about science. I agree with you completely. A man in the 7th century, I would not expect him to have a modern scientific worldview. Now, you brought up the issue about Galileo. Why did the church put Galileo on house arrest? And keep in mind, they didn't kill him or anything. They just said you're not going outside your house. This was an incident with the Catholic Church, and a lot of people have a misunderstanding about this. They think that Galileo was since he had a different view of the world, that the Catholic Church said, hey, you disagree with us, therefore you're going to be put on house arrest for the rest of your life. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. The Catholic Church actually said, we're going to give you an opportunity to come here and speak before all of us and present your evidence to show us that you have the correct view of the universe. And if you do, then that's going to be the correct view. Because the church had adopted Aristotle's view of the universe. In other words, the view that the earth is at the center of the universe. That's Aristotle's view, and the church adopted that as the orthodox position. But when Galileo came along and said, I can show that that's not how it is, the church said, well, come in and show us. If you've got it right, then you've got it right. So the church was actually open to alternative scientific views, and it came down to, wait a minute, Galileo, if you're right, then the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour right now. Can you give us any evidence that we're spinning really, really fast? Because it doesn't feel like we're spinning really, really fast. And Galileo could not give an answer. It wasn't until Newton came along later that they understood inertia. And even though we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour right now, it can feel like we're not moving. So the church actually offered Galileo the opportunity to present and defend his views. He actually couldn't defend them at that time. Later on, people could defend them, but Galileo couldn't. So they said, all right, you had your chance. You had a chance to show us we're wrong, and you failed. What did Galileo do? Galileo went and published a book mocking the views of the Pope. He started mocking the Pope and making the Pope, he portrayed the Pope as a complete idiot. He actually put the words of the Pope into his books and made the Pope seem like a complete idiot. Well, the Pope said, fine, if you're going to do that, then you're going to be put on house arrest. So this wasn't because the church was against science or anything like that. It was for mocking the Pope. So just to sum up here, the points you've drawn, they're not parallels between, and by the way, there's nothing in Christianity that doesn't teach that you would ever persecute someone for their scientific views. But to clarify, as far as Islam is concerned, Muhammad said things that are totally false with regards to science, and you have agreed to that. You and I have also agreed that we wouldn't say Muhammad has to be a false prophet because he didn't have a modern scientific worldview. We're on the same page there. All I'm saying is Muslims shouldn't be arguing based on science, and it seems to me that you're in agreement on that point, that Muslims shouldn't be using this as their evidence. They have to get their evidence from somewhere, and that's really my only point in all of this.
All right, we have some calls here. Go ahead, who's next? Good evening. Who's next, please? You are on the air. Go ahead. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes.
You hear us?
Who's with me?
Yeah, Brother Dave.
Yes.
Pastor Joseph, thank you for taking my phone call. I appreciate your program. It's very educational.
Thank you.
Every day I watch it, I get more educated. Please give me enough time. I'm trying to make my point.
What's your name, please? What's your name?
I was watching CNN News a couple of hours ago. They show one young lady, 20 years old, from Dearborn, Michigan.
Yes.
She was at the airport, and she was mad as a hell because they asked her to take her headscarf off. She was she didn't like that.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, like 2-3 years ago, we had shoe bomber. Last week we had underwear bomber. And only God knows what we're going to have in the future. All these are by the name of Islam.
And by the way, it's already gone farther than that in other countries. In Saudi Arabia, there was a suicide bomber from Al-Qaeda who tried to take out some members of the Saudi royal family, I believe, who actually had the bomb stuffed inside of him. So he had the bomb inside of him. So they searched him, and he walked right in there. He was brought in because they thought there's no way this guy has a bomb, and actually he had one inside of him. So yes, there's these people will do anything.
I was gonna say, but Brother Dave, the problem lies in our Constitution. Now you have these criminals. They got caught right with the blood on their hands. And we offer them free attorneys on taxpayer expense. This is what bothers me the most. They are not even Americans. How could you have somebody from different world try to call American innocent, and we offer them free attorneys? I think this constitution we have, which was put in the books 200 years ago, need to be changed. We need, every one of us, me, you, and Pastor Joseph, and the listeners, to call our senators to change the Constitution. This is what's going on.
This isn't in the Constitution. The Constitution does not say that non-Americans have the right to an attorney if they commit treasonous acts against the United States and if they attack the United States. That's something. Yes, that's something that the government is doing. That's something that the government is doing, but that doesn't come from the Constitution.
No.
Okay. My next point is, if these guys get mad for taking their scars off for the security of the rest of us, if they don't like this, I'm volunteer to buy them one-way ticket to go wherever they like and bring Christians who have nowhere to go in Middle East. They've been killed every day. They've been their churches, they've been burned up, and all kind of things. This is what bothers me the most. How could you justify like these European countries, including the United States? They issue so many visas for Muslim people, but not to Christians. If we had all the Christians bring from Middle East and send these Muslims back to the Middle East, we wouldn't have any problem at all. And thank you.
Yes, I agree with you about the issue of taking off the headscarf. It was actually interesting after the Fort Hood shooting. So 13 people, including one pregnant woman, were killed at Fort Hood. And Muslims are complaining, oh, there's going to be a backlash against Islam. People are gonna attack Muslims because of this. Well, people didn't actually attack Muslims because of that, but what someone did was someone was standing in a grocery store and was angry at the Muslim after the Fort Hood shooting, and pulled on her headscarf. And this was all over the news. This is on CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Was all over the place saying, oh, look at this backlash against Muslims. And think about the comparison here. A Muslim man, slaughtered and tried to slaughter dozens of his fellow soldiers on an American military base, and he was successful with 13 of them. And Muslims, after that, are complaining about a woman getting her scarf.